This meeting is held in compliance with Brown Act rules relating to telephonic and video conference meetings. SCAG offices are open for members of the public to attend and participate in person. Instructions for providing public comment have been provided in advance and are also included in the agenda packet. If a member of this body is attending remotely but is not at a location specified on the agenda, they may observe and comment as a member of the public, but may not participate in any member discussion or voting of this body. For all members participating remotely, please ensure your microphone is muted when not in use. Please state your name during deliberations and whether making a motion or offering a second. Any voting member or member of the public calling into this meeting by telephone can press *6 to mute and unmute. All telephone participants should identify themselves prior to speaking. SCAG encourages all members of the public to participate in its meetings. We are committed to holding meetings accessible to people with disabilities. For members of the public requiring ADA accommodation, please call 213-630-1420. SCAG offers free interpretation services. For members of the public needing information in another language, please call 213-236-1895.
Good morning. Hi,
The meeting
Jan.
will now begin.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Okay.
Marcela.
We do have quorum, right? Just making sure before we start.
Look
Mr.
at you.
Vice Chair,
You're
I am
in charge.
confirming that we have met quorum.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you all for being on time, especially me, on time on the minute. With that, we're going to go ahead and call this meeting to order. 8:31 a.m. I'm going to ask David Shapiro to please lead us in today's Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you. Please rise if you can. Place your right hand over your heart, face our flag, and salute the great country of our nation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Shapiro, for
Thank you.
that. With that, we're going to go ahead and we did have quorum. That's perfect. Are there any members of the public who wish to make a comment relating to anything today?
Mr. Vice Chair, I do not see any hands raised via Zoom and no members of the public in person.
Got it. And again, we do acknowledge our chair is unable to join us today. So in lieu of her, I'm going to be chairing today's meeting. So thank you all again for joining us. At this point, do we have our special guest today? Is Senator Padilla here?
Mr. Vice Chair, I think that we are still just waiting a minute or two for the senator to join us, so perhaps we could move on to the next item on the calendar and then interrupt that when the senator does join us.
Awesome. Okay. Just wanted to make sure, please. Thank you so much. Thank you for that, Kevin. Okay. I got to get my life together here. Sorry about that. My notes were here. I were a little messed up. All right. So we'll go on with the minutes. The first part of the minutes of the meeting. Is there a motion for the minutes?
A motion to approve.
Shapiro, second.
Okay. Any discussion on the minutes?
Sorry,
Okay,
that
so-
was Bucknam who motioned. I'm sorry, I didn't say my name.
Thank you, Ms. Buckman, for that. And there was a second by, I think it was Shapiro.
Yes. Yes.
Mr. Vice
Uh,
Chair, may I
okay.
interrupt? And I just wanted to see if your intention was to improve the entire consent calendar as part
Yes,
of.
thank you, Mr. Kevin, for that. Thank you for that. That'll save us some time as well. So thank you for that. Is that okay?
I'm
Ms.
happy to
Buckman?
modify my motion.
Thank
the
you. It was
consent
my
calendar.
mistake for just calling on the minutes. It is a consent calendar. I apologize for that.
Well, thank you
Mr.
very
Shapiro,
much.
do you agree with that correction?
Yes. Yes, I will second that amended motion.
Thank you so much. Is there any comments on the consent calendar?
Mr. Vice Chair, I do not see any hands raised via Zoom and no members of the public in person.
Okay, we'll go ahead and take a roll call, please.
Cindy Allen? Cindy Allen? Wendy Bucknam?
Yes.
Jenny Crosswhite?
Crosswhite, yes.
Keith Ike? Keith Ike? Margaret Finlay? Margaret Finlay? Jan Harnick?
Yes.
Laura Hernandez? Laura Hernandez? Clint Lorimore? Clint Lorimore? Ray Marquez?
Yes.
Gil Rebollar? Gil Rebollar?
Yes. Yes.
Noted, thank you. David Shapiro?
Yes.
Jose Luis Olache?
Yes.
Donald Wagner? Donald Wagner? Alan Wapner?
Yes.
Thomas Wong?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Vice Chair, with 9 yes votes, 0 no votes, and 0 abstentions, the committee has approved the consent calendar.
Thank you for that roll call, and thank you for acknowledging the calendar is now approved. We'll now go ahead and before we go to the action item, I know we have again a guest speaker. Would we have him here yet? Not yet. Okay, we're gonna move on. Just want to make sure I do a check-in. With that, thank you for approving the calendar. Now we're gonna go to our first action item, and first is item number 5, and we're gonna have information from staff. Before we do the staff, is there any public comment for this item?
Mr. Vice Chair, there are no hands raised via Zoom and no members of the public in person.
Thank you so much for that. Staff, any presentation before we go to the item itself?
Yes, thank you, Vice Chair Salache. It's my pleasure to be with you all this morning. I'll be leading us through this item. Let me go ahead and share my screen, and we could get started. So we're starting with agenda item 5, SB 960 by Senator Scott Wiener. Under current law, Caltrans is required to improve and maintain the state's highways. It does so through a variety of programs to plan and fund their development, construction, and repair, including the State Highway Operation and Program Protection Program known as SHOP. As part of that, oh, and you know what? I will actually stop now because I see that Senator Steve Padilla has entered the waiting room. So I will pause and we will continue that excitement after our actual guest speakers here. So let me stop sharing the screen.
Okay, thank you so much, Francisco, for that. We're gonna go ahead and we have a special guest. Let me see my screen for a second. I think he's logging in, so we'll give it a quick second. Senator Padilla, hello, how are you today?
Hey, good morning. Sorry to run a little behind.
I mean, it is the end of session August, so we understand that things are a little busy in Sacramento, especially as you all get ready for next week. So we totally understand. First and foremost, thank you for joining us here today at SCAG. This is a legislative committee that is very in tune with what's going on in Sacramento. So we thank you first and foremost for your time. With that, again, want to just do a quick little overview of Senator Padilla. He was elected in 2022, so he's one of our almost done with the freshman status, and now he'll be into the sophomore status. But he represents counties of San Diego, Imperial, Riverside, and San Bernardino. He's a native of San Diego County as a lifelong Chula Vista resident, having dedicated his life to public service. He's a former police officer and police detective. Thank you for your service to that, Senator. Board of Ethics and Safety Commissioner, City Council member, and Mayor. When he was elected in 2022, he currently serves on several standing committees, including Senate Housing, and as chair of the Budget Subcommittee number 4 on the State Administration. So he keeps really busy in the state. So we want to just again thank you so much for your time, and love to hear from you. And then I know some members might have some questions, so we want to be respectful of your time. So let's get started.
Well, thank you for having me, and I just appreciate you reaching out to want to talk about some of the work we did in sub 4 on the budget, some of the program and staffing we were able to salvage. I think that's directly relevant to, moving along economic development and investment and supporting some of the most underinvested communities in the state. There was a little bit of a fight, as you know, but not too hard, not as bad as some of the others, but absolutely happy to have been collaborating with a lot of stakeholders on the ground, not just obviously from within my district, but throughout the state on a lot of that program. And to not interrupt capital projects that were going on around transportation infrastructure and other things that were happening in a lot of your communities that are obviously important to your RTCs and other regional planning entities that many of you represent in county and local government and regional planning groups. So was really happy to do it. Appreciate the nice introduction. I'm old enough to have been around this business for nearly 30 years. I don't know how that's possible. I was only 2 when I got started. There's appreciate the kind partial CV of me, but there's more that I did with my life after being a police detective, including college and law school and working in the advocacy across multiple sectors, serving at every level of government, from doing work with the Council on Foreign Relations on U.S. immigration policy to serving as chairman of the California Coastal Commission and working on regional issues of every nature, particularly around land use. So sort of a policy nerd. I'm new as a member, but not new to this building. And so I like to think that's sort of an advantage. And, here I am. So it's been an interesting year, as you all know. We still have some fundamental issues, I think, to tackle in the out years. If we keep looking at the next 2 to 3 budget cycles, we still have some structural issues that we have to address. I think ultimately the state's going to have to address some, perhaps reassessing what that revenue infrastructure looks like. We did get some bond language through and to the ballot, and we hope that the voters will be supportive of those, and that will give us some additional flexibility to focus on some of the key strategic investments the state wants to make in times where the revenue is constrained in the next couple cycles. So a lot of policy stuff happening, as you well know, around everything from AI to infrastructure, and certainly dealing with resource issues. So a little bit of everything. The district I represent is sort of reflects the entire state. It's I tell people it's in an everything bagel district, in that any demographic you can think of in the state, I have it. Every type of population, subgroup, ethnicity, economic status, whether it's, coastal and wealthy and urban to suburban and rural and poor, I have it. And so I think that's helpful in that it's a real reflection of the state as a whole. And also representing, I'm the only member in the legislature that represents the entirety of the California-Mexico border, from the ocean to the river. And that relationship is important for the North American export economy and important for the state's economy. So sort of a little bit of everything. Happy to have a few minutes with you. Happy to share my thoughts about things we'll be looking forward to in the future and what we might expect here. Or if you had specific questions, I'm happy to engage. And again, thanks for putting up with me being a little bit behind, but as you know, things rapidly change minute to minute around here this time of the legislative calendar.
Right. No, thank you, Senator, again. And yes, we definitely wanted to highlight a glimpse of your CV for sure, as we know that you have an extensive amount of work that you've done. And again, you come to Sacramento with a full amount of knowledge and information and experience more than anything. So with that, I just wanted one more time, thank you for the TARDIS that you helped us save REAP 2.0 funding. That's critical for SCAG. So we want to make sure we highlight that. And we can't say thank you enough for your work on that. Just a quick question. You're wrapping up your first 2 years in the session in Sacramento. Anything you were surprised by in your first 2 years? Just want to kick off with that quick question.
Well, I don't know that there are any real surprises. I think what's reassuring with all the cynicism in our politics today, and there's plenty of it at every level, and I suppose that's the nature of how we make the sausage, as they say. But the reality is, as a member, what you're reminded of is for the most part, I'm pretty lucky. I serve with a pretty amazing group of colleagues on both sides of the aisle that are tremendously talented, knowledgeable, experienced, and intent, for the most part, intend to do something that they can leave behind that left it better than when they came in. There's a collegiality certainly in the Senate that respects our differences on policy, but really works hard to avoid making it personal and nasty and negative like we see in the national stage, unfortunately. And I know it sounds a little Pollyanna to some folks, and people that are cynical are like, oh, come on now, that can't be right. No, it's actually true. We actually like each other. We actually go out of our way to be decent to one another. We fight it out on issues. We fight it out sometimes procedurally, but we're very, very proud of that culture in the Senate. And I guess if you're looking for a surprise, it would be coming here and finding out that people are pretty collegial and pretty determined to be decent when we're arguing over whose ideas are better. And that's pretty refreshing. And I think we're pretty proud of that. Yeah, you don't see that, in a lot of places. Somebody who disagrees with you is your enemy. And that sort of seems to be where we've evolved as a culture, and it's really poisonous. And we need to start to work to sort of roll that back.
Thank you, Senator. I think we have a question for Mayor Thomas Wong.
Okay, thanks, Chair. I just want to echo Director Salache's comments around appreciation for your efforts to restore some potential funding that was going to get cut in the initial budget. Appreciate all your support for the whole government. My question's on I'm just curious with us being in a kind of the bus part of the boom and bust cycle for budgeting for the state, if there's any appetite or any even conversation around tax reform or comprehensive tax reform, maybe not comprehensive tax reform in the state, to try to adjust and adapt to these boom and bust cycles so that they don't happen with the same frequency as they have in the past, and what that opportunity might look like.
Well, I think you probably saw in the evolution of this budget process that they have written in some additional contingency funding that's designed to smooth wild variations over budget cycles, right? So that we're not on the swing too much. But that's sort of budget by budget, subject to agreement and appropriation negotiation. To your kind of fundamental point, Mayor, I am one who believes that we should have that conversation just because of the fundamentals. In terms of whether it's ripe or politically feasible at the moment, I don't have that answer because there's a lot of folks that are, afraid to touch any of that. But I think there is a acute awareness that to a large degree, the revenue picture for the state is inexorably linked to the success of a certain small percentage of Californians' investment portfolios is sort of, good and bad. And I think there has been conversation about the fundamental architecture of what our revenue infrastructure looks like. We've never for 40 years plus didn't think through, in my opinion, the long-term sustainability of what we did to some key elements of our revenue sources. And I don't know that we went in there and we sort of carved out areas that we should have carved out and didn't. And so we built ourselves a structural problem decades ago, and that for decades we've tried to get creative in how we close that gap. It didn't keep pace with the state's growth in population. And so you're just fundamentally behind often, unless things are really, really boom in some other quarters. And so that's not a healthy place to be in terms of budget stability and ability to plan strategically. So yeah, I think there's a conversation to be had. Whether the politics are there in the near future, we'll see.
Thank you, sir. Do we have one last question? Because I know the senator has to run back to session. So I think we have Councilmember Robayat.
Yes, Gil here from the Imperial Valley State Senator. Imperial County, we're really excited about the Delta Street Pump Station, the city of Calapat, that will ultimately promote existing and future affordable residential development. The funding the project received through REAP 2.0 is critical to success. And I just want to personally thank you for all your efforts to preserve this critical funding. Put on a personal, I had some family come down this past weekend one of my cousins works out of the Capitol, and he was telling me how well respected you are in Sacramento. And
Oh God, I gotta pay him too?
I don't know. And so he asked me, he goes, do they feel the same way about him in Imperial Valley? And I go, we think he's all right. We think,
Yeah.
but really, we really appreciate your efforts, your staff from Memo to Lorena. Are always, I see them out about, always listening to constituents. So the reflection of your work. So thank you for this. Thank you for your advocacy, especially on the border. Hopefully we can work on something, as I'm pretty passionate about that as well. But thank you to you and your staff for this and everything else.
Thank you, council member. Thank you for your service. And it's always good to be reminded, what we're all doing here. And I have to echo, it's a team sport. It really is. We all do our part. I have an amazing staff. I have an amazing staff from Capitol to all three of the district offices. They are a talented group of dedicated folks, and they help us succeed every day. So,
Senator, your time permits. We have one more question from Wendy. Councilwoman Wendy, is that okay? Okay, go ahead.
Just a quick comment.
hi.
Just Wendy Bucknam. I'm with the Orange County COG previous chair, and I want to thank you for the work that you did to preserve the funding that impacts SCAG and the work, the REAP grant that we work very hard on and got ahead of the game in Orange County. So it was really, I just want to express our appreciation for the work you did, and kudos to you.
Thank you. Hey, it's a partnership, right? And it's imperfect, but it's what it takes. And so it's important that whether it's SCAG or, just continuing communication and dialogue, let us know, that any member's office up here is frequently inundated with inputs all the time. And you got to just, if we're not, if you need something, if you want to have a dialogue, get ahead of it with us and have conversations early. And continue the collaboration and the communication is really critical.
Senator, we know we have to run to your end of session, but on behalf of SCAG, we want to continue being a partner with you for years to come. We wish you luck in the next 10 years in the legislature. On a personal note, I look forward to working with you in December 2nd when I get to the state assembly. So I just want to make that little pitch. I'll be a champion of SCAG, but definitely want to work with you, especially in public safety. As someone that supports law enforcement, I want to definitely work with you on that type of work for our state. So thank
Likewise,
you.
thanks.
All right, have
You'd be
fun
remiss
ending
if
the
you
session.
You'd be
Sorry?
remiss if you didn't make a plug, Jose.
Oh, I had to, Senator. Come on, it wouldn't be the Sacramento culture if we didn't do that. So again, thank you again. Looking forward to chatting things with you, and let's get to work in Sacramento soon.
Thanks, all. Be well.
Okay.
See you next time.
Thank you. Oh my God, I almost pressed leave myself, so thank God I didn't do that. Thank you all for engaging with the senator. I think he's definitely one of our great champions there, and I think we look forward to working with him, as we all saw. Thank you all for your questions. Thank you, Wendy, for that last one. I wasn't sure it was going to be a 5-minute question, but I'm happy it was definitely a strong statement. With that, we're gonna we interjected Francisco's great presentation, so we're gonna just, with no further ado, continue with Francisco's presentation. Thank you, Francisco.
All right.
And the next item, the first action item.
Yes, thank you so much. So just to quickly recap what I was saying, under current law, Caltrans is required to improve and maintain the state's highways. It does so through a variety of programs, including the State Highway Operation and Protection Program, or SHOP. So as part of that SHOP program, Caltrans is also required to prepare a robust asset management plan to guide selection of projects for the SHOP, adopt targets and performance measures reflecting state transportation goals and objectives, and develop a performance report to increase transparency and accountability of the SHOP. So with that, so what SB 960 seeks to do is require Caltrans to consider the incorporation of complete streets elements into SHOP-funded projects by requiring the target and performance measures adopted and the performance report to reflect state transportation goals and objectives for complete streets assets. This includes bicycle, pedestrian, and transit priority facilities on the state highway system. As I noted in the staff report, Senator Wiener did attempt this bill during the previous 2-year legislative cycle with SB 127. That bill was ultimately vetoed by the governor, as it was his belief it would create a prescriptive and costly approach, quote unquote, to implementing complete streets elements into the state highways, specifically referring to Caltrans analysis, which put the total annual cost to implement SB 127's provisions at $1.1 billion. So that being the case, the key difference with this iteration of the bill is that it's been amended to give Caltrans the ability to determine whether or not to include complete streets facilities in capital and maintenance shop projects. As a condition of its ability to choose, Caltrans would be required to document its justification for why it didn't move forward with the complete streets facility for any given project within the shop program and publish that justification on its website. We noted in the staff report that additional amendments were expected soon to further address the opposition's concerns. Those amendments were published yesterday afternoon. They include one, adding clarification that incorporation of complete streets facilities have to be consistent with Caltrans' most recent department guidance, and two, ensuring that project costs are included in the required performance report, just to put into perspective what the impact would be on the overall program. Ahead of the publishing of those specific amendments, I did reach out to Transportation California, who had authored the opposing response to the bill, and they noted that with these amendments, they have dropped their opposition. So as the bill is currently written, staff is recommending the LCMC move forward a recommendation to support SB 960 to the Regional Council, given that it does align with the complete street strategy in the Connect SoCal and our 2024 state legislative platform, the items of which I specifically noted in the staff report. And with that, I'll pause there, and I'm here with my colleague David Angel, who did the lion's share of the research, to take any questions you might have.
Are there any questions from committee members? For Francisco? Okay, if there
Yes.
aren't.
Sorry, yes, sorry.
Okay, first I'll have David and then I'll have Wendy. Go ahead.
Thank you. And I just want to confirm it because I did read the report. Caltrans has dropped all opposition. Francisco, thank you for the report. With the concerning $5 billion deficit, they were looking forward, we were looking forward as a state at.
Yeah, so Caltrans never took any position on it. It was the labor groups, and it looked like it was being led by Transportation California, which is why we were working with them. But to confirm, yesterday evening I did reach out to Transportation California, and they said yes, as soon as these things are published, we will drop all our opposition. Because again, whereas before it was a requirement of Caltrans to do these things, now they just have to consider it, which is pretty much what Caltrans has already been doing. And that's what Caltrans noted when SB 127 wasn't signed by the governor. They had already started to implement complete streets into their shop programs wherever feasible. So this kind of just codifies into the language their practice that they've already been doing. So yeah, Transportation California and that coalition has dropped their opposition to the bill.
Thank you.
Ms. Buckman?
Thank you. So on this one, David, thanks for helping get that clarified. So in reaching out to OCTA staff last week, we understand that the region's county transportation commissions, including OCTA, have not taken a position on this bill, and they're while awaiting the amendments that are under consideration to address the bill's opposition and divisiveness. So later this week, the board of directors will also be considering an opposed position for the our OCOG on this bill, but would be supportive of a watch position to see how the author considers all these additional amendments to address the opposition over flexibility and a balance of the investment. So if there's time, I would propose that SCAG consider a watch on this one to allow our county transportation commissions and give them some additional time to carefully review any amendments that are under consideration, because this is still in a state of flux unless you have information, and for SCAG staff to seek input and recommendations from the CTCs before we consider a position of actual support. So if there's not enough time for that to happen next month, then maybe we need to do an opposed position. But I want to be able to get the amendments. So I think coming out in support without the amendments is strong. I think maybe we could get there with a watch, but I don't know if there's enough time. So with that, I leave you that with my 5-minute comment. Sorry.
You know how to give you a hard time, Wendy. I gave you a hard time last time. You're good. You're good. Francisco?
Yes, thank you, Councilmember Bucknam. Just to put first to put it into perspective on the timing, all amendments to the floor are due by the end of Friday. After that, the bill cannot be amended any further, which is why we're seeing a flurry of activity at this moment. And so we believe that the amendments that were published to this bill, based off of conversations that we've had with all parties, that these are going to be the final amendments that are going to go in. Again, given that strict cutoff deadline that is approaching, and then all bills will have until the end of next week to leave the legislature before it has to get to the governor's desk. And so to put that into perspective on timing, whatever recommendation that is made here by the LCMC will get forwarded to the regional council at their September meeting, where they will adopt that position. So if a position of watch is adopted following the traditional procedure that we follow here, we wouldn't be able to change that position until the October LCMC. And by that point, the deadline for the governor to sign or veto legislation is by the end of September. So just to put that into timing, I do meet regularly with the transportation commissions once a month, where we discuss all legislation and positions. We just had that meeting earlier this week where I shared that we were going to be bringing this bill forward with a recommendation to support. I did bring up if anyone had taken a position on it, specifically within the transportation commissions. No one had. At that point, no one had taken a position on it, and so I inquired as to why. The feedback I got is that it deals with Caltrans jurisdiction, since it only impacts the state highway system, and so they were going to leave it up to Caltrans to advocate as needed for the impact to their system and the impact to their budget.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, with that, I see Mr. Wong and then Ms. Crosswhite. Mr. Wong.
Thank you, Jose. Just given what Francisco is saying in terms of timing, I know the session is crazy right now. I want to make sure that SCAG takes a position on this. I know we have to wait for a regional council to adopt the recommendation, whatever recommendation might come out of this committee. I don't want to stand in the way of that. I'm comfortable making a motion to recommend a support position for the regional council. And I think between now and regional council, we've got a couple weeks. If there are changes, I think staff can obviously come back to make sure that that's known to the regional council before an official position is adopted. I would look to staff to do that. I don't think this committee should get in the way. And I think, given what Francisco is saying, I'm not concerned in terms of moving ahead on this from this committee at least. And I will make that motion.
Okay, so that formally a motion to Mr. Wong, just to acknowledge your motion.
I will, make the motion to adopt staff recommendation to take a support position on the bill number that I can't remember, but the bill.
Thank you. Yes, it would be SB 960 Wiener. Okay, is there a second? Then I'll go to Ms. Crosswhite after. Is there a second?
Well, I'll second.
Okay, thank you, Jenny. So go ahead and acknowledge your second, and then now you're go ahead and you're next.
Yeah, and I mean, given what Francisco said about the fact that this is already Caltrans process and they haven't come out in oppose, I think with the amendments as of where it is right now, I would be comfortable supporting it. And then, like Member Wong said, if something radically crazy happens between now and, when we have our next board meeting, then we could always have one of us ask to, pull that from the consent calendar. But I think at this point, I would be comfortable. I mean, it is in line with our plan. here at SCAG, and it doesn't seem to have a negative impact on Caltrans if it's already their current practice. So that would be my position.
Thank you, Jenny. And I want to echo Jenny's words too, that I think this is critical for SCAG and important. I think if there's any change we can make, we could definitely bring them back to RC. Wendy?
So just, I hear what everybody's saying, and I appreciate it. So what about if we, because it seems like our support is really conditioned on these amendments. Is it effective to say support if amended I mean, does that even weigh in? If we add that wording?
I think, Wendy, I think we could move forward with supporting it. And I think as stated, I think if there's any amendments that could be brought to the RC at the next meeting with those possible changes. But I think for now, I think we could approve it as is. And I think our staff, I think, take a note of these comments, and we could bring that to the original council.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, with no other hands raised, or can we take a roll call, please?
Cindy Allen.
We already took public comments. I want to acknowledge we already did that at the beginning. Okay.
Cindy Allen. Wendy Bucknam.
I'm going to say no.
Jenny Crosswhite.
Crosswhite, yes.
Keith Ike.
Yes.
Margaret Finlay. Jan Harnick.
May I ask a favor, please? Can you please repeat the motion as that we are voting on at this moment? How is it?
It was to approve the staff's recommendation.
And we're not saying anything about, because there was so much discussion on that.
Yeah, for now, we're just moving it as recommended, Jan, and then if there's any changes, that they will bring that to the RC later.
Okay, yes.
Laura Hernandez. Clint Lorimore. Ray Marquez.
Yes.
Guy Rebollar.
Yes.
David Shapiro.
Yes.
Jose Luis Solache.
Yes.
Donald Wagner.
Wagner, no.
Alan Wapner.
Yes.
Thomas Wong.
Yes.
Mr. Vice Chair, with 9 yes votes, 2 no votes, and 0 abstentions, the committee has approved the motion on item number 4.
Thank you for acknowledging that. Again, item 5 is approved. And again, all comments that were made by committee members with some concerns will definitely be acknowledged by staff, and we'll definitely bring those as needed. Okay. Thank you to the committee for the discussion. We're now going to move to item 6. This is legislative advocacy update. Can we have staff present? And then we're going to go ahead into public comments.
Certainly, thank you. We just wanted to touch on some brief highlights this morning from the past few months as it relates to our advocacy efforts. First, I know you've seen the emails and press releases, but I just wanted to note it one more time as it is a massive deal. REAP 2.0 grant funding did make it into the final budget signed by Governor Newsom on Tuesday, July 2nd. We really wanted to take a quick moment to once again thank all of you for your tremendous efforts in making this a possibility, from the Sacramento Summit to the additional strike teams to the extensive letter campaign. I mean, I remember even as far back as the Sacramento Summit, the general feedback we were getting from legislators was that the budget was not good and that everyone would be feeling the pain. But we kept pushing even after it was once again proposed to be cut from the governor's May revise only 5 weeks before the final budget. I remember sitting in a meeting with Assembly budget staff toward the end and hearing them say, "We have heard you guys loud and clear. You've done an amazing job coming up here and letting us know this is a priority." So this is a huge win for our region and the implementation of our RTP-SCS. And we just wanted to take a moment to acknowledge and celebrate that in this group, which was so instrumental to making that happen. So thank you all for being the voice in the region and helping make this happen, even when everyone was telling us that it couldn't happen. So a quick moment to celebrate that. And then, yes, Councilmember Wong.
I just wanted to express appreciation to the staff for all your efforts in coordinating the advocacy. I mean, would not have been possible without the team here at SCAG really pushing this, doing all the phone calls in the background and setting up all these meetings too. So appreciate all the work on the staff's part to get us to this successful outcome, considering the budget.
Thomas, I want to say just thank you. You have to join us next time. You have to be part of the work, okay?
I'm waiting for my invite.
Anyone else? I want to just echo Thomas's words too. I mean, we were part of that. I know, I think Wendy was there too, and who else on the screen here? Ray. So anyway, just want to thank all of you for the effort. If I missed anyone, I apologize. But again, everyone that was there, Jan, and always been a champion for these issues. So then it's a lot of work, but it is a little demoralizing at the end that things just kind of die, and I guess I have to get ready for that new life soon. But I did hear that buzz from Sacramento that you work so hard for your bills, and you're like in suspense to see what happens at the end. So, but again, thank you all for that. Anything else, Francisco?
Yes, and then I just, riding that high of passing, of getting REAP 2.0 passed, I wanted to provide an update on our sponsored bill, AB 2485, which are
All
all
right, I jumped the gun.
You jumped the gun.
I did. Go ahead.
So since the last update that we provided at the last LCMC, the bill did make it out of both its assigned committees in the Assembly and the floor before it landed in Senate Housing. It was there in Senate Housing that Senator Nancy Skinner from Berkeley, the chair of the committee, expressed concern over the structure of our bill's proposed COG specific panels, citing their potential to slow down the existing process. Despite our best efforts to explain how our proposed panels could be folded seamlessly into the existing process, her concerns remained, and following multiple meetings with HCD and committee staff, the committee went ahead and amended the bill to convene one panel for all COGs at the start of each cycle instead of just having the panel participate as part of the process for each individual COG. And then further, the bill was amended so that it wouldn't start until the 8th cycle, as the 7th cycle has already started for some smaller jurisdictions. Our 7th cycle wouldn't start for about another year and a half. So, it pushed the provisions of the bill out even further. Luckily, they had left the transparency requirements of the bill intact. So then further meetings were then held with HCD following its passage from Senate Housing. At no point did we hear concerns about our newly amended bill language as written, which is why in the middle of preparing to advocate for the bill for its next phase on the Senate floor, we were taken aback that it got held in submission in Senate appropriations. For those who may not know, bills that would cost $150,000 or more go to a special hearing known as the suspense file hearing, held toward the end of the cycle so that the committee could take a look at the overall cost of all the proposed bills holistically. Hundreds of bills are heard during this hearing at once, and the committee either passes or holds the bills in rapid fire succession with no explanation or opportunity for public comment. So the meeting took place this past Thursday afternoon where a bill was held, which I only found out when it was skipped as Member Carrillo's bills were being voted on. And no meeting was held on Friday, which was a deadline for bills to move out of appropriations. So the bill was essentially killed. We're extremely disappointed at this outcome, especially after we had so much openness and dialogue on our part with all stakeholders. But we'll continue to try and find out more as this process continues to unfold. In the meantime, I just wanted to once again thank you all for your support and effort you put into advocating for the bill, from writing letters of support to advocating for directly with members in Sacramento. But with that, I'll pause here for any questions or comments from the committee.
Okay. Anything else? I know I jumped the gun on my comments, so I'll just leave it at that. Was it Wendy? Smuggler?
Yeah. I'm glad you said you were shocked and stunned, because I agree that this never didn't make it out of appropriations committee. And do you have any insight on who or what killed the bill? I mean, any further insight? And thanks for sharing what you know. But I'm wondering if anybody has that information.
Not at this moment. And like I said, the way they held the hearing, I mean, they were literally hearing like hundreds of bills. And now that all those hundreds of bills that did make it are out, all the focus has gone to that as they move through the final deadline of next Friday. So I think the focus just shifted. Okay, let's get the bills we've worked on out.
Yeah.
But we definitely going to stay on it, because if it's something that the LCMC decides that maybe we want to bring back in a different iteration, or it's still a priority, we want to understand the why. The the appropriations did put ACD did put a cost on this bill at about $200,000 to make it happen, given that they felt that they would have to hire an individual to manage all of the COG specific panels and also post the information to the website that was required. But that was before the bill was amended to just one one panel before the entire cycle.
Right.
So maybe they just looked at the cost, but we'll try to find out more. I don't want to make any educated guesses at this moment. I just want to
Okay.
provide you guys with the facts on that. But again, it did catch us off guard that it didn't make it out of appropriations.
Well, and I think that what is really key is that the very transparency that HCD is asking for from cities and all of us is what we were asking for from HCD. So it is, I would hope HCD would be an advocate of this because they want transparency. I'm sure because they want it of cities. They must want that for themselves. I have to believe that. So I would hope they would come alongside us and advocate for a bill such as this and advocate for the minimal amount of funding. That's not a lot of funding in the big scheme of things. So yeah, that's my comments. Thank you.
Well said, Wendy. I can't agree with you more. We'll have Jan and then Mr. Wagner.
Thank you, and thank you, Wendy, for everything. That your comments are right on. $200,000 when we are talking about a statewide housing crisis is nothing if that can create a more expeditious approach to us creating the housing. Do we have, and it sounds like everything that you just said, do we have the opportunity to do a postmortem and speak to the people who killed the bill and figure out what we can do to approach this next time to get it across the finish line?
So now that we found out this news and that this is what happened, we are definitely going to be working with our Sacramento lobbyist crew strategies to see what can be done to find out more about what killed the bill, and then find out how, again, if remains to be a priority of the LCMC moving forward in the next legislative session, what could be done to explore those options and continue to build coalitions with all of our partners who helped us get to this point.
Thank you, Francisco. Mr. Wagner?
Thank you.
Thank you, Jen. Mr. Wagner?
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And my question, I think, Ms. Ross, is preliminary to the one Jan just asked. What was the vote? Did it go out on an A roll, a B roll, or were there individual dissents? I mean, we're going to work with the people who killed it. Who killed it? What was the vote?
Right, and so that was the funny part about how they did it. It was held. It didn't even go to a vote. They just, as through your experience, they literally in the suspense file hearing, they were just going like bill by bill. So they were going Carrillo's bills and they went like 2484, 2480, and then they just skipped over
no recorded vote. Just
no recorded vote, no action.
Suspense.
It's just held. Yes, it was just held.
Okay.
And it wasn't.
Well, that's on the chairman. I mean, that's who we need to work with. That's on the chair.
Correct. So yes, that's definitely one of the people that we will be reaching out to, and we will report back as we learn more about that. And thank you for that insight.
Thank you, Mr. Wagner. I think to your point, Mr. Wagner, definitely the chair of the Probe Senate Committee is who we have to reach out to. And again, this is definitely a Carrillo bill, and respecting it's his bill, we'll definitely work with him next year. But I definitely have it on my to-do list without any formal promise here. But I want to make sure that this is important to SCAG, and I think I think Jan said it best. This is a priority, and we have a state housing crisis. How do we not make this investment in identifying where the situation's at? And $200,000 seems like nothing compared to the craze that we're all living in housing. So anyway, I think we are saying the same thing at this point, but definitely something that we need to follow up, and hopefully we can bring this bill back in the next session, or should I say we will bring it back. With that, thank you, Francisco, for that. We're going to go on to next item, which is item number 7, transportation and housing bill interest, and then after that we'll go through the formal anything else. Go ahead, item 7.
Okay, on that uplifting note, we just wanted to go through some follow-up on bills that we presented for informationally at the last LCMC. Here's some quick context for where we are in the process that I've mentioned before. These are some key dates. The last day to amend bills, as I said on the floor, is this Friday, August 23rd. After that, we only have 1 week left for each house to pass bills and send them to the governor's desk, who will have until September 30th to either sign or veto bills passed by the legislature. So with that, let's just dive in. Again, as presented, AB 1335 by Assembly Member Zipper has gone through many iterations. In its most recent language, the bill would have required MPOs to accept HCD's RENA determination as the only piece of information that could be used to forecast household growth in the first 8 years of our RTP-SCS. So this ultimately would have resulted in our inability to demonstrate air quality conformity to the EPA, which would essentially make our region ineligible to use most federal transportation dollars. Having heard it may have come back with another iteration of language, SCAG approached our advocacy partners who shared similar concerns over the bill, and we set a meeting with the author's new legislative staff to educate them on our position and the fundamental issues that remain with the bill. Following several subsequent meetings, the member and his staff agreed that those fundamental issues remained, and the decision was made to not move forward with the bill, and that was confirmed when it failed to pass the deadline and get out of appropriations. So at least for now in this legislative session, we were able to effectively advocate this bill and our position of oppose. So that's one cool thing. Any questions on this bill before I move to the next one? Okay.
Thank you. Go ahead.
And then next, AB 2597 by Chair of the Housing Community Development Committee, Assemblymember Ward. As noted in the staff report, currently all 197 SCAG jurisdictions have to submit their draft housing elements to HCD about 90 days prior to their due date. As such, HCD experiences a large workload spike, which it asserts is not only has an impact on its ability to review the housing elements in a timely manner, also that of members of the public and stakeholder groups who have an interest in reviewing the draft housing elements. So HCD believes that by minimizing that workload spike, they'd be able to provide jurisdictions waiting for feedback on their drafts with more individualized technical assistance and deeper feedback on their drafts, which could then reduce the need for multiple subsequent draft housing elements. As such, AB 2597 was introduced to smooth out that spike by creating 2 phases of the housing element adoption due date for SCAG jurisdictions in future cycles. So what they did was, what the bill is proposing is LA County and all jurisdictions within would remain on the current 18-month adoption period. So all those jurisdictions would not, there's no decline or increase in the amount of time that they have. It stays as is. And all other jurisdictions in the SCAG region would have 24 months, so an additional 6 months to adopt their housing element if they have a compliant housing element currently. And then additionally, the bill was recently amended to shorten timelines for appeals of regional housing allocations to expedite the adoption of the final allocation plan so local governments could get started in their housing elements faster. As I noted in the staff report, this was a concept presented to Chair Ward, the bill's author, by California cities to provide cities with additional time to work on their housing elements, noting that the majority of COGs in the state either have a minimal number of appeals or no appeals filed. As such, those COGs don't need the full amount of time to process their appeals as currently exists in statute, and they were essentially just running out the clock until they could get started with the next phase. That being said, SCAG doesn't share the same experience. For the 6th cycle, SCAG's appeals agenda was 1,600 pages long and took approximately 47 hours of public hearings to complete. So a shorter time frame would not give us the ability to process those appeals with the adequate time and consideration each appeal is due. So what we did was we reached out to MTC ABAG up in Northern California, who share the same experience, and we were able to work with the author's office in collaboration with CalCog to educate the author's staff on our current appeals process, our time constraints, and our needs. So following the conversation and subsequent meetings, the author agreed to amendments that would restore the appeals timeline to what currently exists in statute, while providing COGS the option to shorten their appeals timeline to no less than 10 days if they so choose. This new language is expected to be published in the coming days of Friday's deadline. In a show of collaboration, given that we've been working with the author's office on this since the amendments came through, They have circulated those amendments with us to verify that we're fine with the language as they've written it. And again, all it does with regards to all the amendments that they had proposed is restores everything to back to what it was. So we have those timelines, but it provides COGS the flexibility to shorten the appeals timeline if they feel that, you know, they don't need that much time. So cities and counties throughout the state can get to work faster on their housing elements if that is their choosing. And so with that, that's the update on that bill. Happy to pause for any comments, questions.
Okay, any questions for anyone? Okay, there's no questions, Francisco.
Okay. And then
go ahead.
Thank you so much. AB 3093, as previously presented, AB 3093 does seek to create 2 new income household categories in the housing element process. To visually put this into context, currently the RENA determination process has 4 levels, as shown on the left, and housing elements have 5, as noted on the right. And so as you can see on this slide, AB 3093 would take the 4 existing income categories in the RENA determination process and split it the first existing category of very low income into 3, having that consistently reflected over the entire housing element process. So now both the column on the left and the column on the right would have the same number of income categories. As noted in our staff report, the bill's author believes the existing structure in the RENA process is too broad, and by lumping income levels of 0 to 50% together, we've made it so that only deed-restricted, very low income homes that serve the higher end of that range are likely to be built. Additionally, one of the proposed changes in the bill is a requirement for COGS to provide HCD with data regarding the housing needs of individuals and families experiencing homelessness. It's the author's hope that doing so will create a more accurate understanding of homelessness housing needs throughout the state. So as I mentioned, we did provide an update on this to the June LCMC meeting, and we took the feedback that we were given, SCAG, and we met with Housing Committee staff handling the bill, as well as our partner agencies with California cities, CSAC, and CalCog to provide that feedback. And through these and subsequent discussions, several amendments were negotiated into the bill. This includes a requirement that the publish advisory guidance pertaining to special housing needs for ALI and ELI, those 2 new low income categories. And that would include sample analyses and programs, and that would have to be in place by December 31st, 2026, so that cities and counties and jurisdictions could use that to guide the development of their housing elements. And then additionally, the bill is expected to be amended to require HCD to provide COGS with guidance on how to distribute the ALI and ELI households across their regions. And actually saying is actually late now, given that the amendments have been published just a few minutes before this meeting, and a quick glance confirmed that those amendments did make it in. So now the HCD will be providing COGS that guidance. And so that is that update on that bill. And I will pause for questions or comments.
Questions, Ms. Buckman?
Thank you. So thanks for letting us know what just happened with that amendment for HCD, and that they'll be providing COGS guidance on how to distribute the acutely low and the extremely low housing across the region. So this is a little bit of a concern, given that the homelessness is an issue that really crosses jurisdictional boundaries and requires a broader geographic approach to solve it. So different than people that are moving into very specific housing, these are people that are typically moving not in specifically to specific cities. So I would hope, I'm going to share it here, that any draft guidance document that once it's released be agendized before the CEHD committee and be carefully vetted by SCAG if possible, so that our member agencies can provide input and recommendations in the guidance document to HCD before it's finalized. So I'm putting it out there as a hope and a prayer that we will be able to do this. So I appreciate you sharing when these guidelines will be effective. I'm guessing they would be effective because they have to be completed by the end of 2026, if I heard you correctly.
Correct.
When do you anticipate that they'll be effective? 2027 or the beginning of the next RENA? process.
So the way that the amendments, these requirements have written into the legislation, into the bill language, is that they're advisory in nature, that jurisdictions would not be required to do them. So they just have to release it by December 31st, 2026. And then it's
Okay.
up to jurisdictions to decide, like, do we want to use it? Do we want to develop our own? So, and it was advocated for in that way, so it wouldn't be a constraint on jurisdictions if we didn't agree with that, the way they were doing it. But it was
Okay.
also, we requested it so that we could at least get an idea of what it was that they were looking for to help formulate our discussions. But certainly we will be looking and pushing for as much public participation in the development of these documents as possible.
Well, and I appreciate that you said it. These are suggestions, but I think we all know what happens with the suggestions in the process of approving a housing element. Those suggestions become kind of regulatory. So that's my, just based on history, I think we need to be realistic here. And so I just want to make sure we're as involved as we can in those final guidelines. So thank you.
Certainly. And then lastly, I just wanted to bring up SB 7 by Senator Blakespear as presented during the June LCMC meeting. SB 7 made several technical changes to the RHND and RENA process to clean up language and state for consistency with current practice. The bill was amended to its current language right before the June LCMC meeting, so there was no time to meet with the author until after our meeting. During our LCMC meeting, staff shared that the bill language may eliminate the ability to form sub-regional jurisdictions, which some of you show concern over. So shortly after the meeting, we were able to meet with Senator Blakespear's staff, who confirmed that the bill was addressing HCD's ability to use an alternative RHND process that has never been used and can only be used by HCD, not a jurisdiction's ability to form sub-regional delegations. So we took that interpretation back to our staff, who indeed verified that, yes, that's correct. You know, some of this language is just written so technically and ambiguously, but we did want to get verification and in writing from the senator's office that that was the case. So we addressed those concerns. And then before I conclude, I did also want to note that these last two housing bills were directly influenced by HCD's report, California's Housing Future 2040, which makes recommendations to the legislature on how to change the RENA process. And to Member Bucknam's point, we do want to have some sort of dialogue with HCD on that report before additional bills come forward. So in order to be proactive ahead of the start of the next legislative cycle, SCAG has sent a letter to the Senate and Assembly Housing Committee leadership asking them to convene an informational hearing to go over the report. And that's really to provide the public opportunity to provide comment on that report and to kind of provide some perspectives and gain some more understanding of what exactly HCD was proposing in certain sections, as there is some ambiguity that, you know, even we and our staff are confused over. So we're proposing it not in a sense of like we want to attack it. It's that we want to come to a mutual understanding of what it is that you are requesting be changed, why you're requesting that be changed, and just speak to the process of the development of the report overall.
I'll volunteer to go to that hearing.
Noted. All right. And with that, that is the conclusion of my report.
Thank you, Francisco. Just to formally ask for item number 6, any public comment? Is there any public comment for item 6?
Mr. Vice Chair, there are no raised hands via Zoom and no members of the public in person.
Thank you. Thank you for confirming. And again, there's no other questions from committee members. We're going to move on to next item with Ms. Cartagena, Government and Public Affairs Division update. And for that, I'll just take a public comment now before I move on. Any public comment on this part of the agenda? Seeing none, Ms. Cartagena, it's all yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and Javiera Cartagena, Chief Government Officer here at SCAG. I know it's been said many times, but I want to underscore the importance of getting our REAP funding restored. For all of you who have been involved in state budget processes, I know that you all know that this doesn't happen very often. So I wanted to take a moment today to thank all of you for the significant amount of time and effort that you invested to advocate for our top priorities this year, including our bill, which, you know, we're devastated, but I think it puts SCAG in such a just an incredible force to be reckoned with in the space of housing. So I appreciated you know, all of your work and how passionately you spoke about your significant projects. I was there, I experienced it, and I think that you represented SCAG in such a magnificent way. And I know that there's a lot of boards that you all participate in, and I'm grateful for the amount of time that you dedicated to this committee. So I just wanted to thank all of you truly for a small team in legislation like ours. It truly makes a difference. So I wanted to update you as well on the IIJA Surface Transportation Reauthorization Act, which is rapidly concluding its 5-year lifespan. While Congress is in maintenance mode right now, as Francisco puts it for me, committee staff has already started reaching out to ask for feedback on what hasn't worked, on what was missing that might be included in the next iteration. So we are working with our partners to identify potential priorities, which we will be bringing to this committee in the upcoming months to form our federal priority platform. And in the meantime, if you have any ideas or priorities that you would like to be considered as part of these efforts, please do not hesitate to reach out to any of us and Kevin and Francisco, of course. And as Francisco mentioned, the release of HCD's California's Housing Future 2040, the report that resulted in legislation impacting the RENA process. We are anticipating a lot more conversation in the next legislative session. So to be proactive, we did send a letter to the legislature's housing committees requesting an informal hearing, as mentioned before. So we will keep you posted on those efforts. But if you want to help us in increasing that visibility, please let us know. Thirdly, SCAG is hosting a mobile workshop in Ventura County on Friday, August 30th, in collaboration with the Port of Wainini. They will be hosting our leadership, our board members, and providing each agency an opportunity to share priorities, programs, and also opportunities for future partnerships. I think we're already fully booked, but if you are interested, please reach out to Kevin and Rachel Wagner, who represents the Ventura County area. I'm sure we can do something for our special LCMC. And last but not least, registration is open now for our 2024 demographic workshop. This is an annual event that is co-presented by SCAG and the USC Sol Price School of Public Policy. The event is scheduled for Tuesday, September. I feel like the date is not on here. Let me get back. I think it's the 24th. Somebody help me out on that one. I feel like that.
That's correct.
Okay, September 24 from 9 to 3 p.m. at our main office in downtown LA. And we'll be able to attend, you'll be able to attend virtually as well. The theme this year is the new growth reality, and it looks at how slower population growth, which we can see in our region, is consistent with our national and global trends. So it should be a great event, and we hope that you will join us. You can register online or on our website, and please let me know if you have any trouble doing so. With that, that concludes my divisional report. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cartagena. Are there any questions for Javiera? If they're not, then we're going to move on. Thank you for your words, and thank you for your awesomeness as always. With that, you're actually a little more awesome than Kevin, so we'll leave it at that for today. With that, we're going to go on to. Are there any announcements from the committee members today? Any announcements? Okay, and if not, there's nothing for the good of the order. We're going to go ahead and adjourn with no objection at 9:39 a.m. See you at the next meeting, September 17th, where you're going to have our chair actually chair the meeting, so you won't be as bored as today. With that, have a good day, everyone.
Thank you
Bye,
very much,
everyone.
Mr. Vice
Have a nice
Chair.
Labor Day, everybody.
Yes, happy Labor Day. Thank you, everyone.
Happy Labor Day.